no, come on. Sit down, everybody. For those of you our listening audience, WJPF, they're giving me a big standing ovation. Sit, please, sit. All right, that's enough of that. WJPF 1340 AM in Herrin, broadcasting St. Louis Cardinal Baseball to Southern Illinois since 1941. It's before Harry Carey was broadcasting. That's a long time.
Before Cunningham played.
Before Joe Cunningham played, who was with our traveling group, says one of our helpers on the sidelines over there. But we'd like to thank WJPF for broadcasting today's event. We have some folks who we would like to recognize for bringing us here to Herrin. And first of all, he's trying to escape out the back or maybe passing out bumper stickers. The owner of WJPF, Bob Ferrari. Bob, thank you. And also from Southern Distributing, Dennis Chaika. Where's Dennis? Dennis, thanks. Sampling the new ice draft in the back room. So if no, never mind. Okay. At this time, before we start to introduce to you our traveling group, we're going to bring up a local favorite of yours, the head baseball coach at Southern. How about Sam Riggleman? Come on up, Sam, and let's hear about your 1994 version of the Salukis.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just a couple of minutes. There's no way I can steal the thunder here today, I guarantee you, not with all these celebrities here, but just a couple of minutes to tell you that we're at it twice a day right now. Matter of fact, Coach, we were up at 5:15 this morning, worked out for 2 hours. We're going back outside this afternoon. We have AstroTurf football field at our place, and from 2 to 3:30 this afternoon we'll be out doing all of our defensive stuff. So we're going at it 6 days a week right now, and I don't know if you can get your guys up that early to get going, but a couple of them probably. They might be awake, maybe. Are they just coming in? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, none of these guys.
Okay. Anyway, we're at it full tilt, and matter of fact, we're only 3 weeks away from this coming weekend of opening up at Ole Miss, and our kids have really gotten after it. We're looking forward to a great spring. We're going to spend 10 days in Miami for our spring trip. And I think one of the things that we just want to make sure that you know is that we really have a great flavor of Southern Illinois kids on our club this year. And I think that
we will start with the right wall here. My right, your left, seated down by a youngster now struggling to get to his feet. Former baseball Cardinal and now, well, recently retired from the Cardinal front office, a favorite player of yours I know when he played, and now what he does in the community is take Fredbird out with him to area schools, and they talk about staying in school, saying no to drugs, getting involved in sports. They give that message out to the youngsters, and he has really been recognized very highly in the St. Louis community and nationally for what he has been able to accomplish. So please welcome Joe Cunningham. And also on the wall, who was talking to you a little earlier, Vice President of Marketing and our fearless leader on this caravan, Mr. Marty Hendon. Let us introduce to you our group. We'll start with the newest member of Joe Torre's coaching staff, and I'm sure he will talk a little more about him as this program goes on. Former Cardinal, played for the Cardinals in the early 1970s. He has most recently been with Cincinnati. Now he's with the Cardinals. He'll help out the base running, help out the outfield play, and Joe Torre's thrilled to have him. Please welcome former Cardinal, now back with the team, Jose Cardinal. Down on the far end is a young man who was traded late last season for Lee Smith. Came to the Cardinals, a young right-hander with a strong throwing arm, a good split-fingered pitch, and he'll be fighting this spring to make the ball club. Please welcome Rich Batchleor. Next to him is the bulldog of the staff, left-hander who came up last year, tried to make a go of it in the bullpen. That didn't work out. They sent him back down, worked on some things again as a starter, came back up, and at the end of last season was one of the most consistent starters that Joe Torre had in his rotation. Please welcome Tom Urbani. And right here to my left is a guy who I really admire for getting to the big leagues at such a young age. He struggled then he went back down, got hurt, had to fight his way back through the system, and since he's come back to the Cardinals, he has really helped out the offense, helped out the defense, and last year and the year before put in great offensive numbers for a second baseman, Louis Alicea. Louis has friends and family here in Herrin. Just friends, not family. Okay, just checking. Louis from Puerto Rico. I thought maybe he was spread out across the globe. To my far right, on the end, seated by himself, but that's abnormal. He's usually surrounded by his loved ones. No, he's incognito today. He is going to be counted on heavily by Joe Torre to be the man out of the bullpen. One of a few that Joe can call on in the late innings. He has become one of the best setup men in the game of baseball, and now he's just going to be doing the same job just 20 minutes later. Now with the departure of Lee Smith, please welcome the Cardinal closer, Mike Perez. And of course, to my right, right here by the podium, is favorite Cardinal of yours, former most valuable player in the National League, also played for the Mets, guided to the Atlanta Braves to the postseason in 1982, and stepped in, filling in for Whitey Herzog when he stepped down, and the Cardinals picked the perfect guy for the job, and now he has his team ready in 1994 to bring home another championship. Please welcome Cardinal manager number 9, Joe Torre.
Thank you, Joe. Sam Riggleman, 5:15 in the morning. Can you imagine trying to hit sliders at 5:15 in the morning? That's tough. That's tough. See, you guys have it easy. You only have to be there at 8. That's a piece of cake. They may have to change these habits here. Check the record out. Well, it's great being here in Herrin because we know baseball is not too far down the road. Of course, today it's going to go through Evansville. We're going to wind up in St. Petersburg about the 16th of this month with the pitchers and catchers. And we're excited. We really are, because we feel with the new alignment, in fact, if they counted if the alignment was in place last year, the realignment in place last year, we were in the Central Division, with our record, we would have won the division and then had to fight our way through a couple of different ball clubs to get to the World Series. But we think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to make for a more exciting postseason, and a club like San Francisco winning 103 ball games would not have been left out in the cold and having everybody scratch their head saying, how did they blow it? When you win 103 games, you don't blow it. You just have a team play a little bit better than you, and that was the Atlanta Braves. But we're very excited about our ball club. We feel that our pitching is going to be the big question in spring training. And when I say a question, I don't mean if they're going to be good or not. It's just that out of the 23 pitches, we have to nail it down to, narrow it down to 10 or 11 to start the season with. And that's going to be the tough part, because we're going to have 5 starters, and we probably have about 8 of the pitchers down there that have legitimate chances of being one of those 5, being those 5 starters. And of course, our bullpen will have 6 pitchers, probably 3 left-handers, 3 right-handers, and as Joe pointed out in introducing Mike Perez, you know, Mike is used to setting up, which means he's pitching the 8th inning for Lee Smith to pitch the 9th inning, so he'll just be setting up in the 9th inning. It's simple as that. But 20 minutes later, Mike said, why not 5 minutes later? I said, because we're going to score about 5 more runs, that's why. Make it simple. But it's going to be an interesting year. We have the 4 outfielders who will be playing the 3 positions, which means that one of them is going to be mad at me every day, which is fine with me because it makes for good competition. Langford is in good shape. I saw Witten the other day. He's ready to go. Brian Jordan, who had shoulder surgery right at the end of last season, his shoulder seems to be fine. Similar to the surgery that Donovan Osborne had. Unfortunately, Osborne, being a pitcher, will miss the whole season, and you know, hopefully come back strong for us next year. And of course, Bernard Gilkey. I keep discounting Bernard Gilkey. When we picked up Witten in the trade, I said, it looks like you're going to be playing off the bench because Brian Jordan has to play as long as he's here. It's not fair for him to sit on the bench. He could be playing in the minor leagues if he was going to sit on the bench, which is eventually what he did. So that particular day we were playing in Dunedin, and he hits a home run against Toronto, and I said to him as he passed me by, I said, don't make it easy on me. He says, I won't, don't worry about it. Bernard Gilkey has made himself one heck of a ball player, and he's had 2 terrific years in a row. But we're looking forward to getting started, and we're going to field some questions from you very loyal people here, and then hopefully we'll see you at Busch Stadium in April when we play the Dodgers. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Now I know there are hundreds of questions floating around out there. Who wants to fire the first one up here and get one of these young ball players up to talk, or the coaches, or Marty Hendon, or Thane Van Bruzigen? Let's hear it.
That's the way you say his last name.
Thank you. You have no questions. We're live on the radio right now. Come on. Your chance to star. Was that a stretch? Did you have an itch? Was that a question? What's that? Ever going to have a chance to get Bob Gibson for pitching coach?
I think you could ask my coach over here, Jose Cardinal. Coaches don't get paid much money, do they? Bob Gibson's bouncing around from place to place, doing this, that, and the other thing, and it's tough to tie up 7 or 8 months. He'd like to get back in the game, and I'm not discounting that because I think he's ready to probably put back a uniform. But right now, my pitching coach, Joe Coleman, I think is doing an outstanding job. And it's a whole different game anymore for coaches. You really have to get involved, and one of the reasons I hired Jose Cardinal. He's a former teammate of mine. He's had a tremendous following. He's been in several organizations since leaving the his active playing days, and he's a hands-on type of guy. He sees one mistake, that's one mistake too many. He works with the outfielders. He will be working with the outfielders, and he'll be working with the base runners, and that's probably going to be his toughest job. It's going to require the most time is because our base running, and I'm not talking about base stealing, base running. We gave away too many things on the bases last year. We just gave up too many outs defensively and gave away too many opportunities on the bases. And that's something we have to straighten away, and something we can do about it. We can't do a great deal about making people hit home runs or striking people out. But we can do the little things that we should do and good teams need to do to win. Is Tom Pagnazzi going to be playing a lot this year? We certainly hope so. Last year he had the knee surgery, came back, and probably never was completely well. Still had some problems going to his left because he had that surgery on his left knee. But I talked to him about 3 weeks ago. He said his weight's in pretty good shape. Because when he did go on to disabled list last year, he put on a little weight, and that's one thing, especially for a catcher. He cannot get away with being heavy because of the fact that it affects his mobility. And he needs to be good for us to be good, because catchers are so important if your pitching is the main part of your ballgame. Mike, get up here and answer that question. I want to know if the pitchers are calm when they step up to the mound.
That depends which situation, your Torre bring us. He bring us with man on base. We try to stay calm. It's kind of hard, but we try. In my position, when I go into the mound, I usually I stay calm, So I try to do the best job I can do that day. If I don't do it, he come and get me, and he says so, and that's it. No big deal.
Good question.
Who's next? Who else has a question? Well, you already had one. Let's get somebody.
I was going to ask Joe if Stan Royer is going to be given a look at the spring training.
Question about Illinoisan Stan Royer.
Yes, Stan Royer, unless something changes and then things have a habit of changing in spring training, but he has no more options left. Which means, once you put on the roster, you're only allowed to be sent to the minor leagues 3 times, once each year. Actually, you can only use 1 option each year. And Tracy Woodson was with us last year. He is no longer with us. He's in the Pittsburgh organization, and at this point in time, Stan Royer will be doing that job. He can fill in at first. He can play a little third base. He's taking some fly balls in the outfield. but he'll be the person coming off the bench right-handed to be the pinch hitter.
Okay, who's next? Right here then. You had one, didn't you?
What does it take to be as good a baseball player as you guys are?
What does it take to be as good a baseball player as you guys are, Mr. Alicea?
Hi, Louis.
There they are again.
Well, I think you have to start with spending a lot of time playing. I think nobody gets good by not practicing. You got to practice a lot. I think I spent a lot of time in the field when I was a kid. It used to be a lot more fun than it is now, obviously, but you just got to play a lot. You just got to go out and have fun and play. The more you play, the better you're going to get. There's no ands and buts about it. I think you just got to go out and play. And from then on, you go to high school and college, and if you're lucky enough to get drafted, then you'll be in the major leagues. If you still keep playing a lot more and working at your weaknesses. And that's pretty much it.
Don't go anywhere. Wait a minute. I've got to ask this question. You say it used to be more fun than it is now? You're getting paid to do it now. You used to do it for nothing. Tell me about that.
It used to be a lot more fun. It really is, Joe. It used to be fun. I mean, you go out to the field and it was like being at the park, having fun. Now it's a job. Yeah, you get paid for it, but you got to perform out there. You know, you're gonna have your bad days, and it's not gonna be fun. Before, yeah, you have a bad day and come home and forget about it. Now you just can't go to sleep that easy sometimes.
That's because you care, and I think that's important.
Mr. Torre.
Yes, sir.
I have a question I want to ask you.
This sounds like I'm not going to like this
But
question.
anyhow, I have wondered about this for a long time.
I really think I'm not going to like it.
While the game is being played, say 3 or on or whatever, anyway, the highlight of the game, everybody's excited. I'm literally beside myself. How in the world do you stay so calm?
That's only outwardly. So you see me only out there. You don't see me run up in the runway and throw things. These guys could tell you. They're a little screaming and cussing and stuff, but I work for Anheuser-Busch, and I have to be careful what they see me saying, you know, and I can't let people hear what the words I use sometimes. But I just try. I remember, and it's a good question. It goes back to when I played. And I never wanted to give, when I struck out or something as a player, or hit it to a double play, which I did quite often, I never wanted to give that pitcher the satisfaction to know that he got me and irritated me. I always had in the back of my mind, you got me this time, I'll get you the next time, and I never really outwardly showed any emotion. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but that's what I was all about. And as a manager, I never like to show emotion if somebody strikes out with the bases loaded, because I was in that spot and I know he tries, and for me to show, you know, displeasure with him striking out means that I was unhappy with him, and if he tries the best he can, that's all I ask. He's not going to do it every time. There's always somebody on the mound who's getting paid to get him out. So somebody has to do their job, and on the other end is somebody having a problem. That's it. I mean, I'm grinding up inside, believe me, and it's the way I do it.
Because I work in TV, and if something bad happens, they always swing a camera around on the manager, and they're hoping that the guy's going to throw something, that he's going to yell something, that he's going to say something that you shouldn't put on TV, but they do.
I used to be on TV. I knew that.
Yeah, he used to work in TV. He knows how it works, so he doesn't give them the satisfaction. But thanks for the question.
Good question.
I'd just like to say I've been a Cardinal fan ever since I was small. I grew up in Chicago, about 10 blocks from Wrigley Field. Wait a second, and I always was knocked down because I was a Cardinal fan. My dad always taught me, if you're going to be a fan, be a Cardinal fan. And I've never had such a thrill since Alicea has come on the team with him and Ozzy out there as I did when Kenny was out there, and Grove and Javier. You guys are, you just, I don't know, there's just that feeling when you two are out there on the field.
Junior, 10 blocks from Wrigley Field, he probably caught some of your home runs, you think?
Yeah. I remember you.
Okay, thanks for the comment. Who else has got a question? We're winding down here. Yes?
For Jose, when does he see his role as the new first base coach, running coach.
What's your new role, Mr. Cardinal?
Who's he going to have to deal with and what?
Well, my role is going to be, God help me, I don't want nobody to get picked on first base. That's the thing. Otherwise, my number here is going to be history. But anyway, my role is to prepare my running and try to make it in, to be aggressive, because that's the only way they're going to improve. If you're a timid base runner, you're going to have problems. Then if they make a mistake, like Joe said, I'm going to be ready to work with them next day, because I don't want my runner to make the same mistake twice. The problem we have today in baseball is that a lot of young athletes today, they make a lot of mistakes, and then they wait a week or 2 weeks later to correct that, and then it don't work. You got to do it next day in a nice way, and then work with it. So that's going to be my role, to prepare them to become a better base runner. You know, be smart, be aggressive, but be intelligent too.
Very well said. Who else is going? Somebody back there? Yes, right here in front.
There was a rumor, I know, this winter about Cardinals trying to acquire Andy Bannis. And of course, that was named probabbecause of Barber, I would imagine. Well, I just want to know if he was in that trade proposal, and if Joe had the opportunity to pull the strings, would he have done it as opposed to Maxwell?
Well, our ball club is based on, you know, we're not going to go out and sign any high-profile free agents because they just don't believe. That's not the philosophy. And I know I was associated with several clubs, and in one, the California Angels, nobody spent more money than the California Angels and didn't get them any. So spending money is not the answer necessarily. I'm not saying I wouldn't like to have every free agent out there. I was with Sandy Koufax, I'm going to answer your question here in a second, but I was with Sandy Koufax a couple of weeks ago, and I always like visiting with Sandy because he's not around very often, and what he has to say is very important to me. He knows his baseball, he's a Hall of Famer, he did a great job as a pitcher. And I talk about our pitchers. You know, last year we went to a point and were good to a point, and then it was, we just couldn't get over the hump. And he said there are two reasons for that. One is chemistry, and I think that's important, putting a team together and a pitching staff together. And the other is desire. And he said those two things are missing because, and he didn't talk about my staff, he just talked about overall baseball-wise, they don't have to. And the reasoning is that they don't need to do it for a living anymore because of the money they make. Well, I think there's something to it. It's not the players' fault because, you know, with the rules of baseball now, I think it's made easy for the players to make a lot of money. It's just the rules with free agency. I'm fortunate on our club, even though we have to get to a next level to be a good ball club again, is that we have not only a pitching staff, but a whole roster that works hard. And that's all I ask them to do. Just be prepared, work hard, and if it doesn't work that particular day, we'll get it right the next day. Now, as far as Andy Bannis, and I started this out as we do it through the inside. And we did ask about Andy Bannis last season when they traded McGriff and they traded Sheffield, and they at that time said they weren't interested in moving him. And then all of a sudden they realized that they shouldn't have a not for sale sign on anybody, especially when you're looking to cut the payroll. But they tried to have us overpay by going and taking too many of the people that we developed, and that's not what it's all about. I wouldn't have done it, no, because they know we weren't going to do it. They wanted to try to fill about 4 positions with Andy Bannis. And we just feel our future is Langford and Barber and people like that. And no, I would not have done that. And I'm sure when San Diego asked for those people, they were sure we weren't going to do it either.
We are winding this down. We have time for a couple of more. Yes, sir.
Several years ago, I was playing with a local fellow who was in minor league. He was a pitcher. And comments that he made, and he himself was pretty high strung. And I gathered from what he was saying, most pitchers are nervous, high strung, like thoroughbred.
He's probably a left-hander. Is he a left-hander?
I couldn't tell you.
They're usually a little off, a little weird. Okay, go ahead.
I just had a normal situation with pitchers, or.
Okay. Well, we've got a left-handed pitcher here, and we've got a right-handed pitcher. And maybe you can interview them both after the show and see which one appears normal and which is a little odd.
Where's Al at?
Here's the lefty. Well, that Urbani, he's in a class all by himself. He's. Go ahead. This is Tom Urbani. He can tell you, our pitcher's high-strung.
Repeat that question real fast. I was talking to a gentleman over there. What was it about left-handers? See, we can't follow along very well either.
That was Joe's comment about left-handers. Our pitchers in general fairly high-strung, nervous, hard to concentrate.
Yeah, when I first came up last year, I was pretty much high-strung and getting sick in between innings, and it wasn't nothing new. You know, it kept me going through the game. But I think the more time you put in, the better it gets. And there's no question about that. You start to feel more of a part of the team. You know, the pressure's not quite there. If you're doing a job and every once in a while you go out and you screw something up, well, you know you're going to be right back there. So. You know, there's pressure in the game. There's no question, like Louis was saying. You know, once you start getting paid to do a job, I mean, that's a job. And, you know, as many of you know, if you go to your job and you do something wrong, well, you know, you could be on the stove there for a while. So I think with any job, you know, there's pressure and such in baseball.
And now we bring to the microphone Rich Batchleor, who would like to give his answer to this question. Are you a very high-strung person?
Nope.
No, I don't think I'm very high-strung. I was, what's so funny over here?
You just went to the doctor before, he gave him a tranquilizer.
No, I did. I stopped by to see Dr. Hayes right before the program today for a little bug or something. No, it's not because of nervousness. Going back to your question, to a certain extent, I think you want to feel a little butterflies or something whenever you're getting warmed up in the bullpen, and because I think if you get too relaxed down there, that you might become just a little complacent, you know, and it might be a little passive, and so I don't know. That's a tough question, because I think to a certain extent you want to be relaxed to a certain extent, but you don't want to get to the place where you're so comfortable down there that you don't even have the game in mind, and you're not worried about going out and doing your job.
As Louis says, when you have little butterflies going, it makes you quicker, maybe on your toes, and gets you ready. We'll take one more, and you are it. Go ahead. Okay.
Do you ever get frustrated when the players do something wrong?
Well, Tom Urbani talked about him getting sick between innings, but when he wasn't pitching well, I was getting sick during the innings. It gets frustrating, but again, frustrated is a good word, because I get angry if I feel they're not prepared to play. If they make an error, that doesn't bother me. That's the frustration part, because I know they're frustrated too. But there are things, if we keep making the same mistakes, that frustrates me, because that is lack of concentration, and that probably bothers me more than anything else. But yeah, when you play 162 games, there's a lot of pressure involved, as Louis said, and I think sometimes it gets a little frustrating when people try so hard and things don't happen for them the way they wanted to.
How about broken bat, Joe?
I'll tell you a story. Here's frustration, and this was anger too. When Jose and I were teammates in the early 70s, I had a bat that was made for me that had grain. Now, certain hitters like wide grain, and I liked wide grain, and it was very wide grain. It was like hitting with a piece of steel, right? It was a terrific bat. Well, we were playing out in San Francisco one day, and we were facing Gaylord Perry, who liked to doctor the ball a little bit and throw a few spitters here and there. And he had a habit of wanting to pitch me inside, which, as a rule, would break a bat or two of mine. So I didn't use this favorite bat of mine, because I just didn't want to have it broken. So so I picked up another bat and I used it a couple of times, and then we knocked him out of the game in about the 6th or 7th inning. I went back to pick up my bat, the one I like, and it was broken. See, what happened was Jose Cardinal didn't want to use his bat. See, he didn't know so he picked up my bat and broke my favorite bat, and he can still outrun me. That's why he's still able to smile and has all his teeth, because that was angry. That was angry. Yeah,
Guys, we hope you enjoyed the program. Herrin, Illinois, we're very, very happy to be here. You guys are the true Cardinal fans, driving the miles to come see these guys play, are listening to myself, my dad, or Mike, or Al on the radio and TV. We thank you all very, very much for coming, and we hope to see you at the ballpark again. Thanks to WJPF for all of their great coverage over the years, and we'll see you soon.
That we have to make, Mr. Cunningham and I. You folks back there can't notice it, but we noticed it on the bus. Mr. Buck forgot one very vital part of his activities here. And that compliments of Dr. Hayes. This has only been used to shave 6 or 8 patients, so we brought that for you.
Well, I must admit that when I figured out I didn't have a razor, I went to Joe Cunningham's room, and he only has the lady Bic. So after I looked at it and I thought about Cunningham and where he's been, I didn't want to use it anyway. So I thought I would forego the entire shaving experience, but now I'll be nice and very clean for our show tonight in Emmonsville. So thank you all very much. Thanks to the good doctor, and Joe, good luck with the operation. Okay, that's it. Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody.
Wait a minute, Jordan. Come here. He's going to sign your hand again.
Let's sign it right now.
We'll have it on his head. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
Buddy Jordan.
Get him, Tyler. Get him. Pull his tail.
Come over here. Go on, Jordan, go on.
Hurry up.
Go. Shake his hand, Jordan. Yeah.
Nice match.
Probably so. Hit the door, Jordan. baseball players, I guess. Did you like that, Jordan? Yeah, go back there. He might be back. Oh, look, Jordy's got that little boy. Look at him. Look He took this guy's hat. Uh-oh. He got Chicago White Sox hat. Oh, he's in the trash.
Stadium club membership.
These are the big shoes!
Come on!
These are the big shoes! We got Here's
Hey, buddy.
got a lot of names on that hat.
What are these for?
There's some things they're going to wrap up.
Oh, okay. Stand watching, here he comes.
It's hard. It's hard to
Wait a minute, here he comes. Sit down. Trying to take her first. Stay here, Jordan. Wait till he comes back.
It's very nice. Yeah.
He's back there, in the very back.
We get something?
I predict. What if I take 9 over
Jordan, get off of Jordan, here he comes. Go see him. You go see Fred Bird.
Hey, Jordan.
Shake his hand. Here comes the autographs. We should have brought a marker can. Jordan, sit down. Here's the baseball, man. Just get over, Jordan.
What do you say? Great so far. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to make one. Two that aren't claimed still.
What?
Tickets. 383, one of the first ones we called. 449 for a cap. Another ticket letter, 420. More caps here. 443 for cap.
Well, you got to take care of it.
Last ticket there is a lady wearing red. Ticket letter, 413. 413 for a ticket letter. Last ticket letter, 414. Braille thing, autograph by each of the guys that are here.
Covered up.
Pick these up.
Can't see.
370.
370. Good job.
Is that him?
That's him.
All right.
There it is, a night shirt.
Can we put your new baseball shirt on, Jordan?
Got some new bananas.
There you go.
Here's three others that haven't been called, that haven't been claimed. A cap for 449.
Set. Let's go. Let's go have some fun.
Cap for 443. And a ticket letter for 383.
Nice going.
Now we're going to run up.
Nice going, buddy.
Okay, fix the three new ones in.
Have him turn around and get a shot at
Okay, for the ticket letter, 372.
Turn around, John, get a picture.
Now the two caps. 349.
Turn around, John, get your picture.
Because they went in order. No, they went in order.
All right, and the last one, 361. All right, thank you very much for your patience. A couple more minutes of autographs when we started the program at 12:30, so you get a chance to hear from these guys. And ask them questions.
I can't believe this. What are we going to do about tickets to a game?
Come up with the shirt. Jordan, don't push this here around.